Hey everybody, Mojave Trooper here, back with another video. And today what I have for you is the Saberz Project A3 and the Saberz Project O3. So a little bit of background info. Back in 2021, Saberz did a run of Hero and Stunt replicas, the A3 and the O3. Of course, I wasn't part of that run. I missed out on it. And then in June of 2023, they announced another run. Well, first of all, they announced interest for another run. Of course, I was on the RPF and I found that thread. And I said, sure, why not? I could use an Anakin replica for my collection because you know me, I'm an Anakin fan. But anyway, I showed my interest. A couple other people also showed interest. And Saberz went ahead and said they were going to do the run. Originally, I believe it was going to be like 10 of each only available. It was that limited. But I think it was a little bit more than that. And the reason I say it was a little bit more than that was because... So, I was only originally signed up for the A3. I wasn't really interested in O3 yet. When I got it in my hands, I held it and I was like, this is really great. This feels so good in the hands, and it's such a nice replica too. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and get an O3 because that's how good the A3 was. So I got the O3 separately. It was shipped separately. And then it got lost in the mail by USPS. That lasted about 2 weeks, maybe more than 2 weeks that we had to search for it. But it never turned up. Finally, USPS sent me a letter saying, it got lost. There's nothing we can do about it. But Saberz, they said, you know what, we're going to make a replacement for you. And they did an extra, I think it was like, I think about 3 extra ones for the O3. And, one of them is mine now, one of the replacements. The other 2, I believe they are currently on sale, or they're on the website right now as of recording this video. But I finally have them here both. I have them on camera, and I'm comparing them now. So that was the story behind them. They're just really great replicas in general. I mean, these aren't your typical, Anakin and Obi-Wan heroes. These are just replicas of the Hero and Stunt. They're Delrin, just like the real props. And they do come with carbon fiber blades that I have right here. One green for Obi-Wan and then one red for Anakin. But I like to have them on display just by themselves without the blade, just the hilts, because they really are that great. So yeah, like I said, I only originally wanted to get the A3 because it's Anakin, but then I wanted to complete the set with the O3, which is, this is the hero version, quote unquote hero version. Because when it comes to the O3, or the Obi-Wan Stunt lightsaber, there's a lot of different variants. There's one called Ewan's Favorite, which has a different grenade section, a different neck, and emitter even. That one shows up in the "This Weapon Is Your Life" episode where the guy says, "Oh, this one's Ewan's favorite," and he showcases it. Then there's a prop store one, which is mainly what Saberz based their O3 on. That one has like a different booster, a different grenade, and a different neck. Even that one I wasn't really interested in. I was interested more in the hero version, because that one, when I think of Obi-Wan's stunt lightsaber, I think of the scene in Mustafar where they're fighting each other. They have each other on the table. And this one, of course, shows up in that scene, but this one does too. This one shows up in that scene too, and we can tell it's a resin stunt just because it looks like this on that scene. It looks like a neck with a much duller finish. You know, it's not the typical shiny gold that you see on the Hero, and the darker, darker upper neck right there. So that's why I said, you know what, if I get the 03, I'm definitely gonna get the Hero version. That one's the one that I'm mostly interested in. With Anakin Stunt, I originally got the Spinflex Mark II from SB Saber's latest run. I ended up selling that one because I wasn't really happy with. I mean, it was a really great hilt, don't get me wrong. It was just, I wasn't happy with it because it didn't really feel like a stunt. And I wasn't really going to install it. It was a great installable piece, which, by the way, these two are not installable. They're static pieces. But, I thought if I want an Anakin stunt replica, I'm definitely going to get a resin one from Saberz. And that's what I ended up doing. I was originally going to compare both of them, the Spinflex Mark II and this one, but I said, you know what, it's probably too niche of a topic. I'm just going to go ahead and sell it and make space for it. And then, to do a little bit of a comparison, first of all, here we have the Aniflex Elite by 7 Chambers. Of course, if you watch my previous videos, you all know that this is based on the Hero prop. And just to do a little bit of a comparison, let me take out the 03 here. I also have the Inception Elite here next to me, which I'm about to compare, but you can see some of the differences and similarities too. Like, they both have this neural clamp. They both have bunny ears. The emitter shapes are similar, with that S curve. And then the grip section, of course. Pommels are, let me get a shot of the pommel here. Pommels are kind of different though. You can see on the resin replica, they don't have those lines right there. But of course, when it comes to the Anakin Stunt, you have the much thinner neck, and then you don't have a control box here, and that's for ease of use, especially with Hayden Christensen's hands. So, and when it comes to the 03, and then here's the Inception Elite, you can see design-wise they are much more similar compared to Anakin's. So this is a Hero version, this is a Stunt version. You can see the emitters are pretty similar. Of course, with this one, you don't have the the details like the holes on the emitter, etc. But otherwise, like, they are very similar in terms of shape and dimensions. The necks are similar too, other than the colors. You have this one is more. This neck is much more shiny versus this one's duller. And then when we move to the bottom, major difference is that the control box is not shiny and it doesn't have the clamp is not shiny and it doesn't have a control box. And then it doesn't have a cover tech wheel too because it's not going to go on the actor's belt. But the pommels, they're very similar. This one doesn't have that little nipple that the Hero does. But that's basically how close they are. And then overall, I'm very happy with these replicas. I think they're very accurate to the ones that were used in Revenge of the Sith. And after all, when Saberz made these, they had the real props, or well, at least some of the real props in hand. Like for the Anakin Stunt, they had a prop store one that showed up on Prop Store. And then with the 03, they had also the prop store one that has a different neck and grenade and booster. So it's really nice to know that when they designed these, they had the real props, you know, to go off by. And again, these are made with Delrin. You know, these are 3D printed, just like the real props. And then you have the carbon fiber blades right here that also come with the hilts, you know, just in case you want to practice around, do some tricks. Like I said, I'll have these for display, but it's nice that they come with the blades, because when it came to the SP Saberz Spinflex Mark II, it did not come with a blade, which I was a little disappointed by, because he said that he was going to allow a blade option to, you know, in the future, but he never did that, you know. But it is what it is. I did end up buying one from Saberz later on just for the Spinflex, but then I ended up selling the hilt. Now I'm stuck with 2 red carbon fiber blades. But anyway, these are the Saberz A3 and the Saberz 03, or Project A3 and Project 03. These are currently, or you know, as I'm recording this video, they are currently on the Saberz website. I think there's only a few left. These are great replicas if you're interested in getting some genuinely resin stunt replicas that are highly accurate. I do recommend these, because you know, they're the only ones out there right now. The Spinflex Mark II is sold out. SP Saberz also did a Obi Stunt that is based on the prop that shows up in the Grievous ship scenes. And that one, I mean, that prop I wasn't really interested in. Again, I've always been interested in the Hero version. But yeah, I do recommend these if you're looking for some great resin replicas, static replicas for display. I would recommend getting these for sure. But that's going to have to be it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you learned something today. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe, and may the force be with you.